Uh, Hello, everybody. It's CEO Jimbo. I have a book review today. I promised some uh, information on computer science and um, coding, computer programming. Anyway, I'm really not, just purely a coder myself. So there's this kind of a different perspective for you coders. I know if you're like me, I'm a pilot. I mean, I just like to read and watch everything I can about flying. And if you're a coder, you probably do the same with coding and so forth. So I hope you find this interesting. There's a book review. I checked this book out from the library. Uh, I'm about to have to turn it in because it's due. My library allows you to check a book out, and then it automatically renews 3 weeks later, um, and then again and again. So you get like three times, and then you have to turn it in or talk to them about it. So I'm about to turn it in. I tried to read it just from cover to cover, and I got yay far. You can see my marker right here coming up. And so on. My marker is on page 63. And let's see, on generic library and legacy client. I was nearing the end of chapter 5. The next chapter is reification. Anyway, what happened is as I became more and more aware that there's no way that I could get this thing all done before I have to turn it in, I started to just stop where my bookmark is and just start skimming it. I did this especially last night, where I just kind of went from chapter to chapter and so on to try to get kind of a mental picture of what Java generics are. And what I really like about this book more than anything is the table of contents. The table of contents is a really good list, and I mean, you could really take this book and just start looking up videos on YouTube about each of the areas. I mean, just go through here. I mean, if you don't know about wildcards, watch videos on wildcards. If you don't know about arrays, watch videos on arrays and that type of thing, and just on and on. And so on. I think that the book explained some things really good and was not really good at explaining other things, at least initially. Like this term varregs caught my attention. I wasn't familiar with that. And so that's one of the first things when I got this book, as I went and I started watching videos on varregs. And this book doesn't really explain, at least at first, there's a whole chapter on this, and I don't recall them really explaining even what the term stands for. And I learned that on a video. And then later, deeper in the book, they do kind of like mention it. Oh, by the way, this, stands for variable something or another, whatever args are, variable arguments. It's variable something arguments, and they do mention that later in the book, and so on. Let's see. Another thing about the book is it's Java generics and collections, and oddly, they actually start talking about collections early on in the book. There's even a section on here, collections. Here it is on effective generics. Use checked collections to enforce security. And then you move on farther down the book here in the table of contents, and you come up with section 2. Part 2 is collections. So this is 8 effective generics, and then 9 design patterns, and then part 2 collections. So it goes from they're you know, talk about collections like you know what they are, and then they start to teach you what collections are and so forth. I thought that was um, really sort of like maybe needing editing or something like that, where just um, don't start talking about collections until you get to the collections part or something like that. There was a couple of other subtle ones in there too that were similar to that, but all in all, I think it's really a good book. What I found when I was reading it from chapter to chapter, this is beyond where I got there, but I was like reading these parts here and following the conversation pretty good. And then I would get to, not so much this, but I would get to the list of codes. And I just really found that these were sort of unreadable. They could have like maybe, stopped and sort of like explained what is below, or maybe better like explain like above this, this block is such, and then above this block is such, and so on. But they just kind of just dump it on you. And I guess if you have a Java computer right in front of you or something like that, you start typing all that in and so on. Here's another. I mean, it just all through the whole book here. It's just an example, and I find these kind of like quite Greek to me anyway. But again, I'm just looking for the general picture. And on that subject, deeper in the book, when I was skimming through it, I did notice that they mentioned something about we're giving you a tour of Java, which I found kind of interesting because, I mean, this doesn't seem to be so much of a tour of it. It seems to be sort of like, at least they're not pointing it out. It's like somebody like just flying a plane with somebody sitting in the co-pilot seat rather than teaching the person in the right co-pilot seat how to fly. There's a big difference there. And this seems to be somebody just flying with me watching instead of them teaching me, how to, to really do anything with Java generics. Anyway, again, I'm not really a computer programmer. I'm into transportation, and transportation involves a lot of computers, like flight management computers on airplanes, and I'm very interested in the inner workings on those. I'm trying to design aircraft instruments, so I either have to like program them myself or have programmers do it for me, and I like to know what the programmers are doing and so forth. So it's kind of a manage by walking around approach on my part, where I'm just sort of walking through this book, trying to get the gist of what Java generics and collections are. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I hope this helps. It's a bit embarrassing. I'm sure you can probably see where I am in my coding experience right now. I'm kind of way back on Hello World and Python, or Hello Transportation World. But anyway, maybe I'm a little more advanced than that. But I really enjoy coding. I have kind of a passion for it, but at the same time, it's not really my primary area of interest. I'm not seeking to be a coder. I'm seeking more to be a leader of a department that has coding in it, that type of thing, and is not really primarily a computer programming lab or something like that. Anyway, have a good day. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and give a thumbs up. Once again, here's the Java generics and collections, and it's that one final note is it's by two authors, and I have generally not had good experiences with books that have more than one author. It's it seems they generally seem kind of wishy-washy, but I think this one kind of works. They kind of say we this, we that, and as a team they sort of explain it pretty good. Anyway, thanks again. Have a good day. Yeah, goodbye.